You've got one shoe on, your keys are in your hand, your bag is half slung over your shoulder, and he's already there, doing those heartbreaking little tippy taps by the door, head tilted at exactly that angle, watching you with the focused intensity of someone who has figured out that the jacket means something, that the keys mean something, that you pulling on your second shoe means something very specific and very bad is about to happen. You say it. You always say it. I'll be back soon. Short pause. Look at camera. To a creature with no concept of soon, the door clicks shut. The jingle of your keys fades. And somewhere in that house, your smell, still clinging to your jacket on the hook, still warm in the couch cushions, starts to be the only version of you that's left. So, what actually happens next? He probably just sleeps it off, right? Yeah, we'll come back to that. Here's what most of us tell ourselves. The dog sulks for maybe 2 minutes, does a dramatic sigh, then face plants onto the couch and enters some kind of blissful unconscious state until we get back. We assume their sense of time is so different from ours that an 8-hour workday basically feels like a long nap to them. We figure they steal a sock, maybe stare out a window for a bit, and then just exist in peaceful dog mode until the key hits the lock. And look, some breeds really do lean into the stereotype. Huskies are probably in the living room rehearsing an elaborate howling monologue for when you return. Golden retrievers genuinely might forget you exist within 4 minutes. But your dog, your specific weird, complicated dog, is probably doing something a little more layered than that. Here's where it gets interesting. We've all heard the line, dogs don't really experience time the way we do. And that's technically true, but actually, wait, no. That's only half the truth, and it kind of lets us off the hook a little too easily. Researchers at Stockholm University found that dogs show measurably different greeting behaviors, depending on whether their owner was gone 30 minutes versus 2 hours. The longer the absence, the more intense the response, which means they're not just registering that you left, they're registering how long. Their nervous system is tracking duration in its own way. Not with a clock, but with something closer to a rising tide of stress that builds the longer you're gone. They're not just waiting, they're experiencing the wait. And here's why. When that door closes, a dog who's genuinely bonded to you doesn't just switch to standby mode. Behavioral scientists describe what dogs form with their primary humans as a secure attachment bond, the same framework used to understand parent-infant bonding in humans. When that bond gets severed, even temporarily, even by something as mundane as a Tuesday morning commute, the brain doesn't quietly accept it. The amygdala, which is basically the brain's threat detection alarm, flags your absence as a potential loss event. It's not dramatic, it's not a breakdown. It's just a low hum of biological alert. And those muffled, twitchy little sleep barks your dog does during naps? Separation anxiety researchers believe some of that nap-time restlessness is the brain emotionally reprocessing unresolved departure stress. They're not just dreaming about squirrels. They might be working through the fact that you left. Sigh. Look directly at camera. Okay, I need to take a second here, because this is the part where the guilt comes in, and I want to talk about it. You've eaten an entire meal, full 3 courses, while your dog watched from across the room with those eyes. You've left for just a few hours that turned into 7 because something came up and you didn't have a choice. You said be right back to a living creature who has no framework for what back means, only that you are here and now you're not. I'm not here to make you feel bad. I genuinely mean that. I'm here to tell you that the guilt you feel, that irrational, disproportionate guilt that hits when you're sitting at your desk thinking about whether he's okay, that's neurologically valid, because the bond your dog has with you is real enough, measurable enough, to actually hurt when it's interrupted. Here's the biology of it. When you leave, your dog's cortisol, the primary stress hormone, measurably rises. A 2019 study using hair cortisol analysis showed that dogs in single-owner households carried significantly higher chronic stress markers than dogs with multiple people in the home. Meanwhile, the oxytocin system, the one that lights up during eye contact, during touch, during that moment where they put their head on your knee and you both just breathe, that goes quiet when you're gone. You know that corn chip smell on their paws, Frito paws if you're a person of culture? That's yeast, totally normal. totally fine. But here's the thing. Your smell does the same thing to their brain that their smell does to yours. It's a biological anchor, and when you leave, the anger slowly drifts. None of this is a character flaw, by the way. Dogs didn't evolve to be left alone. For roughly 15,000 years, they existed in near constant proximity to humans, working together, sleeping together, moving through the world together. Solitude is genuinely new for them, evolutionarily speaking. Separation anxiety isn't a behavioral problem. It's a logical biological response to a situation their nervous systems were simply never designed for. Smile. Somewhere a wolf ancestor is watching a pug hyperventilate at a front door and deeply regretting every life choice that led to this moment. Now, the training advice. The standard guidance: ignore your dog when you leave and return. No big dramatic goodbyes. Desensitize the departure cues. Keep it flat, emotionless, calm. Hold up a chewed TV remote. Cool. Tell that to yourself when 47 pounds of dog is doing full-body zoomies because you walked back through the door after getting the mail. This is what "he was totally fine" looks like. The real insight isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about building a reliable emotional map your dog can actually navigate. They don't need you to be robotic, they need you to be predictable. And here's the part that surprised me most. Not all separation distress looks like howling and destroyed furniture. Some dogs show what behaviorists call shutdown behavior. They simply stop moving, stop eating, wait, physiologically stressed, externally calm. These are the dogs most often described as having no separation anxiety. Veterinary behaviorist Dr. Tav Karen overall has written extensively on the difference between expressed and suppressed anxiety in dogs, and suppressed is often harder to catch and harder to treat. Look at camera. I had a whole graphic planned for this section. Then I looked at it and it just made me sad, so moving on. Here's one thing you can actually do today, and I'm keeping this practical because I know how this goes. Build a departure ritual your dog can decode. Same words, same sequence, every single time you leave. Not because it eliminates the stress, but because predictability is the closest thing to comfort available to a dog when you're not there. Hold up your keys. Pick one phrase. Use it every time. See you at dinner. Back before dark. Whatever fits your life. Watch how fast they start to carry that phrase like a promise instead of a threat. One sentence, repeated daily. That's genuinely the whole intervention. So, the door closed. We said he probably just sleeps, right? He didn't sleep peacefully. He waited. His cortisol rose. His oxytocin went quiet. He may have carried one of your shoes to his bed, not to chew it, not to destroy it, but because it smelled like you, and that was the closest thing to you he had access to. And when your key hit the lock, before the door even opened, his brain flooded with relief. You leaving isn't nothing to him. It never was. The question is just what you do with that. Quiet beat, no music sting, just that. Serious question though, has anyone actually set up a camera to watch what their dog does when they leave? Because I did. And I genuinely cannot tell you what I found without feeling terrible about myself. Drop what yours does in the comments. Bonus points if it's completely unhinged. And if you want to go deeper on how your dog actually reads your emotions in real time, not just when you leave, but while you're right there, that one's next. You're not going to see your morning routine the same way again.